Hello everyone. Now, I would normally be playing guitar here to give you a little bit of entertainment right before I started the stream, but the other day, my D broke. I was playing around with it. My phone isn't working right now. Can you hear me? Oh, hello. Okay, I don't know what's going on with the microphone, but I can see that it's working right now. So today I will be talking about the big update that I've made to the environment project, which is a big step, and I'm hoping that it will help show some more progress in the environment project because up until now the progress has been minimal and has been a little bit unspectacular. So right now you will see the environment 1.3, which is the previous running and has been running for a week. I have this running so that you can get a comparison of how well the previous running did. So you can see that the AI has decided to move, has turned the flashlight on, but the problem is that none of these decisions are based off of any particular angle or any particular object or any goal. So there isn't much intelligence behind them. They are slightly more intelligent than doing nothing because the possibility of survival is slightly higher, although there is not that much higher of a chance because it is all based off of the time that he has before he starves. So what what is new in? Well, actually, so I should say what the results were of this project. So for environment 1.3, the overall amount of instincts. So an instinct is just a set of decisions that the AI that Jeffrey here is told to make by the AI in a given environment. So that means that there were 113 distinct environments in which Jeffrey was given orders. And that I said, did I say 113? It's 313. So this is 313 different instincts, and the highest number of generations that any instinct was aged was 5 to 6,000. So there were some that were closer to 6,000 generations, which is a lot in terms of what what my projects go to. So the ball drop project, when it gets to around that size, that amount of generations, then there isn't much learning to go on beyond that, which is why I'm okay moving on to the next project so soon, even though it has only been a week. Because with my new setup and with my new laptop, I have the AI running 24/7. So I'm constantly running it even when I'm sleeping. So unless something happens to where it crashes, and that hasn't been happening as much, and in some cases not at all, then I have it continually running and continually learning. Now, at the moment, this project is not learning because I didn't think that was, since I'm stopping this running, I figured I should show you the end product and not have any extraneous changes in the decision-making process. But I will start the new project in a moment here, once we've seen a little bit more of this project's running, just so you can get a good idea. But I don't think we're going to see too much more, just because it's relatively the same environment. But you can see that there were a lot of different decisions just based off of what the battery was. Now, none of those decisions were necessarily intuitive, nor did they spark any exploration, which is why I feel it is necessary to make these upgrades. So I will remind you that the change that was made in order to create the running of environment 1.3 was to add the stuck feature back in. So that's the feature that when the program reaches a peak and cannot find a change to make in either direction or in any direction, then one of the two parent sets of traits is killed, which basically means that it is reset back down to just ones. And so all of the information is removed. The higher parent trait set is kept as a seed of intelligence, but then the program is allowed to go off in a new direction and hopefully find a higher peak. And also the information, in order to add this stuck feature in, I needed to add in an info text file for each of the instincts. Now, so this is how I know what generation these instincts were at, and so I was able to give you that information. So the changes that I've made to the environment project to make it now 2.0, and the reason that I'm switching to 2.0 is because I feel that it is a significant change in the way the AI is thinking. So these changes are as follows. I added in a short-term memory and a long-term memory, and a reaction time. So I'll get into those individually, but I'll start with the reaction time. So the reaction time isn't necessarily an upgrade to the thought process of the AI, although it could cause some improvements, and we will see if that has any effect on the AI as the running goes on. So what the reaction time is, and you can probably guess, is that I set a timer so that when Jeffrey enters a new environment, there is a quick little space of time where he still reacts based off of his instincts from the previous environment. Now, this is important because it adds a aspect of realism. Obviously, even if it were some robot, there would be a small reaction time, and so this is important to create this realism. And also, it sort of evens out that finicky motion of Jeffrey like spazzing into a curved motion. Now, I didn't necessarily think that that motion was a bad thing, but I do think that that will be somewhat removed based off of the new reaction time. So I will be watching that as the running goes on, because that could be a good metric of whether my updates are working. So I also added in a short-term memory. So a short-term memory is basically what it sounds like. Jeffrey, when he finds an object, he remembers what that object is, even if it's no longer in the light, as long as it's on the radar and still in his screen. So, actually, I believe that I'm not sure if even the radar has to be on. I'd have to check that. But so Jeffrey remembers where the object is without having to have his flashlight on it. So then he can make decisions based off of a wider environment, as opposed to only having the environment that he can currently see. So this is also important because in the child program, which is the simulation, Jeffrey can then explore the environment and find all of the objects in that environment, and then make a decision based off of the entire environment as opposed to only knowing about one tiny aspect of the environment at a time. I was also planning to add in a feature to where Jeffrey would know the environment he was previously in, but on application and attempting to put this into practice, I realized that it was somewhat of a pointless idea. Now, this may be applied later when I add new updates, but currently I did not see a need for it because it just added a new aspect to how many instincts Jeffrey would need, but wouldn't necessarily promote any harmony. So this is why, because the thing is that the child program wouldn't be receiving any information based off of what that previous environment was. It just means that it would have a possibility to have a different decision in that state between two environments, and so that different decision wouldn't necessarily be anything that would pertain to the association of those two environments. So I decided against keeping that feature. Um, and so I've talked about the reaction time. I've talked about short-term memory. Um, so also with that short-term memory, actually I'll talk about the long-term memory first. So the long-term memory is a little bit simpler. It's simply that Jeffrey remembers the last 100 objects that he's seen, and this list of the last 100 objects he's seen is applied in the simulation, because the simulation, when there is unknowns in the environment, the simulation randomly assigns an object to that unknown in in a random area. So what that means is that there is some random probability that that object could be a piece of food, a rock, an enemy, whatever type of object. And so the problem with the previous running is that the objects that the simulation was simulating, uh, the objects that the simulation were simulating, or was okay, simulation was simulating were were equally probable out of all possible objects, and that meant that enemies could be introduced before Jeffrey even encountered an enemy. Now, I felt that this wasn't true to realism, and I wanted to add this feature in. But it also allows the program to create to change the instincts based off of the environments that Jeffrey is more often in, and so this allows the project. This allows the program to propagate through more traits that have to deal with the more probable environments, and will hopefully allow Jeffrey to be more aptly prepared for those environments that he is seeing. And so the last feature that I added in was a change to the scoring mechanism, which is not removing anything, it's simply adding something. So what I added is a reward for exploration, and this reward is based off. It's first based off of a score addition or score boost that is calculated by the total number of objects known divided by the total number of unknown objects in the given environment. And that unknown objects number is buffered by 1, so it's unknowns plus 1, simply because, just like in this environment, there are no unknowns, so the program would immediately divide by 0, and we all know that's a problem. So the project, the program adds on a bonus based off of the ratio of known objects to unknown objects, and also um, the I also added in a score boost for the number of objects on the screen. So if Jeffrey gets into an environment that has more objects on the screen, I considered that preferable. So because then he has more objects to choose from, and actually it's more known objects. So it's a second buffer for exploring and checking out new objects. So I believe we've seen enough of this older version of the project. So I'm going to exit out of this and pull up the newer version. So bear with me. See if I can get that running. And hold on. Oh, it's the wrong one. Okay. Okay, so currently you're seeing the 2.0 running, and I'm going to try to get the AI information off to the side here. So hold on. Alright, I don't think that's the right window. No, it is not. Okay, hold on. Okay, well, at the moment I can't get this up on the screen, but I actually, hold on, should be able to. Let me just exit out of this for a second. There we go. Okay, so now the AI is up on the screen, and I will run the other one manually and not through the Python program runner, so that it is just showing there. Okay, so now we have both running. And so one thing that I wanted to point out, and I'm hoping that you will see it on the stream, is that when the AI when the AI improves an instinct, I'm not sure if this was shown on the stream, but when the AI improves an instinct, you will see over here a message that says instinct improved, and when the AI is stuck and resets an instinct, then you will see a message that says instinct reset. Now, this is just a little flag to let me know that the AI is running and that the changes I made in 1.3 are running. So they have been and they are currently. So and there you go. So there's an instinct improved. So what we should see in the window over here is actually there shouldn't be too many differences, at least right now, because the AI has only been running for one day, and actually not even a day. So I started this last night at about midnight. I posted on Twitter that I had started it, and so you can check the timestamp on that. So the current running of 2.0 has 16 instincts, and 200 generations is the highest generation count on any of those instincts. So you can use that for comparison to the previous numbers, the previous runnings numbers, and so the previous running ran for a week, and I plan to at least run this for a week, but I wanted to make sure I could show off the new changes. Now, whether or not we will see any of them come into play is a different question, just because of the random nature of the programming. of the program in general. But we will see, and you can see that the AI already has his flashlight on and his radar. So in terms of asset use, it's very similar to the previous running. And he actually turned the radar off there, but it's very similar to the previous running, which is why I felt the need to keep improving this project, because the AI gets rather close to this finished project so far, so called, just just one day into the running. And so now I did say, I believe on Saturday, that I had noticed an improvement in 1.3, and that improvement was that Jeffrey had learned to stop shooting his gun when his battery got low. So this was a nice feature, but this also, it's not fixing the problem. It's just sort of remedying it, because Jeffrey still goes out into the void and fires his gun. So you can see that he is currently firing his gun, and you'll actually notice that it's running a little bit slower. This is because of the addition of the long-term memory. The AI is constantly writing and rewriting a file, which, just based off of how fast it's going, is the rate determining step. So I'm debating putting a timer on that so that he can only update that every once in a while. This would then be a sample of the environments, and not necessarily a exact replica of what he's seen, but that would keep the AI running up to speed. So that's something I'm considering, and if you have any input on that, please let me know. I'm not the best on in terms of keeping programs running quickly and cleanly, but I am trying to do my best, because with the new computer, the AI has been running fairly fast, so I'm used to that. But it's not running unbearably slow. You can see that the number up in the top corner is still ticking by, and that's actually not 1,075. That's actually 10,750. But it does not show in the window because of where I decided to put the score. So that's something that I've never really fixed, but could be easily fixed. It just doesn't seem that important, because if he's scoring negative 10,000, then it's bad no matter what the score is. So I don't necessarily need to see it. But you should see some changes in the score fluctuating based off of his knowledge, which would be a sign of the new scoring system working. Now, this would require Jeffrey to go over with his flashlight. Actually, he should know that that food pellet is there, simply because it's on the radar. But then, if it's on the radar, then it's technically in the screen. But it also means that if it's in that lit up area, it will stay known once it is lit up once. So even though it's flickering, then he shouldn't be having any changes in environment that are relatively quick, just because of that flickering. So that will also put a dampen on the sporadic spazzing of curvature that Jeffrey's paths have him in. So what I'm hoping to see is a newfound desire to go and identify objects. And so this would also be an improvement, because previously Jeffrey had not made any decisions based off the angles, and he had not been able to lock on to an object and go and explore it. So I'm hoping that this new addition will be the change that is needed. But I do have the next change lined up, and I'm currently in the process of outlining that in my head and on paper. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I have a flowchart, but I'll get to that in a second. So what I was thinking about for the next big change, which there may be some minor changes in between then and now, just because there tends to be little glitches whenever the AI has been updated, or whenever anything's updated. There's always little glitches. You'll see when Apple puts out a new big update, there's that number 0.1 the next day, just because there's always some problem that they can't find. Now, this is a much smaller scale project, but I'm the only person working on it, so it sort of scales out. Um, so the next change for the AI is a big one, and when I called this one a big change, the next one is humongous, because this would be a entire shift up in how the AI learns. This would be a addition to the program so that the AI can learn through experience. And so this is something that currently is not a possibility, because the driver is not the driver is just simply analyzing the environment, and the AI is the one that is analyzing that that summary of the environment and saying what to do. So these environment summaries, and so the AI is creating instincts based off of a genetic algorithm, and that's not a strictly genetic algorithm. It's a genetic intuitive that I've talked about. So that's my AI that I've been running. But the next big step for this project, I believe, would be to create a AI, a secondary portion of the AI, and you can see that he's moving around now, um, and could possibly eat that piece of food if he so desires. Um, so the it's a secondary program. Now I'm not sure if I believe it will be a program that will call the boss program, so it will be a tier above that. So right now we have the boss program that calls the parent program that calls the child program. So there would be a fourth program on top of the boss program that would be running and then calling that when necessary. So we're getting some exploration here. You can see he killed his battery immediately, so there's not much intuition in this. But we should be able to see an enemy come here and kill him, assuming actually he's outrunning it. So yeah, no, it's interesting to be able to see the entire environment. So that's nice for you guys. You can see that bigger rocks show up as he gets further away. Um, so what? So this new tier would be a program that would take in the environment and analyze what has changed. It wouldn't take in the environment, which would be a snapshot. It would take in a chunk of time. So it would take basically like let's say 100 frames. So if you took like 100 frames of a movie, and then it would look at that and say, okay, what changed? How did it affect my important numbers? So health, battery, score. And so it would look at those changes to the score, and it would look at the key events that happened in the frame of time. So then those events could be, did Jeffrey come into contact with a rock? Did Jeffrey move forward? Did Jeffrey use something, an asset? And so then did he run into a piece of food or something like that? And so what it'll do is it will find these key events, and it will test which event or which combination of events replicates the results of the change in the numbers. So basically, it will push away the extraneous ideas. So if there was an event that was completely irrelevant to what happened, then just simply by testing whether that affected anything, it will throw that out. But what I'm hoping, and this is a decent bit in the future, I believe, because at the moment I don't necessarily know how to attack it, is that the AI will be able to set up, so it will be able to test ideas in simulation and then give the AI, give the driver program a goal or a something that it wants the driver to go test in real practice. So when the driver finds itself in an environment that it could test that, it will go test that. And so what the new tier of the AI will have to do is, instead of setting up instincts, it will have to set up a function in terms of coding, but it will be a string of decisions that will hopefully replicate that result. And when it has when it has tested that new function, and it has seen that it replicates the results, it will store that function for later, so that when the AI needs that result replicated, say if the health were low, then the AI can go into its bank of knowledge, grab that function, and say, do this if you can. And so then it will then the driver program will be able to look at its environment, see if it's in an environment that it can do that function, and then it will be able to act out those decisions so that it can raise its health or raise its battery or raise its score, whatnot. So what I did was I created a flowchart to describe the way that the AI is going to be thinking. Now I'll show it on the screen if you want to look at it on your own, but I am going to describe it. So this flowchart is a little simplified, but I think it gets the point across. So what it basically says is that, the first question it asks is, am I about to die? And so this is all based off of the ideas of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So obviously the important part of this survival task is survival. So if the AI is about to die, as in the health is very low, then the second tier will kick in and ask the question, do I know how to improve my health in this environment? So it'll look at the environment, it'll look at what it knows about the environment, and it'll say, what things can I do to improve my health? And if there are any things it can do, it will do them. If there is not anything it can do, it will resort to instinct. And so this is an important feature, because that means that in the start of the running, the AI will be running completely on instinct. And throughout the process of exploration, the AI will learn new things. It will create functions in order to do specific tasks, and then it will create a library of those functions so that it can call upon them when necessary. So if we go back up to the top and ask the question, am I about to die? And we say no, so the health is fine, then the next question is my battery low? So this would be like the second tier of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this could be security, entertainment, I don't know. But so if the battery is low, it will ask a similar question. Do I know how to fix this? And if the AI has figured out a way to fix and to improve the battery, then it will attempt to do so. And if the AI has not found the way to improve the battery, then it will ask the question, is there anything I want to try? So this is where that testing idea comes in. So when the AI has figured something out, then um, or at least thinks that it knows how to do something, then it will go through and it will assign that as a goal for the driver program. And the driver program will then, when it is in a safe environment and it doesn't feel threatened, it will attempt to test that new idea to see if the results are replicated in in the real running of the task. So this could also be used to test if functions still work. So obviously, if something worked in the start, but now Jeffrey's getting into new environments and there's new factors to be in play here, then the um, the program can then check its old decisions. So it could say, hey, maybe you should try doing this again just to see if it still works. And if it still works several times, then it'll put a check mark on there again. And the next time it doubts that decision, it will bring it back into the realm of testing. Um, so that's the general flow of ideas. There may be some little additions I add in there. So this at the moment this is just brainstorming because the main change that I wanted to see was the one we're seeing here. And okay, so it's just running slow. It's not frozen. Um, so uh, that's the general flow of ideas. And so it's the thought process that the AI will hopefully be taking when I make these changes. But like I said, I don't necessarily know how to create those changes at the moment. So I will be working that through in my head and on paper and however I can. If you have any suggestions, please either put them in the comments or maybe direct message me on Twitter. I don't know. But I am completely open to suggestions because I want to be building a community here and having input on these projects. But that is the majority of what I wanted to talk about. And so I don't think that we will be seeing any new events occurring with the AI. Now, you can see that it has been rather adventurous. Now, this could be a random occurrence simply because of the starting environment. But this is a promising sign because like I said, I wanted the AI to be more adventurous, but I also wanted the AI to be more curious. So I want the AI, when it gets into a new environment, to stop and look around a bit and explore that environment. So this requires some more dynamic movements, and I can understand that this will take time to develop. But this is a goal that I would like to see with this running of the AI. So I will be running this nonstop as I have the past running, and I will be keeping you updated if I see any important events occurring. But until then, I don't think I have any more to say today. And so we can watch Jeffrey run into a rock and turn his flashlight on. But I will let this life run through because it seems like some interesting things are happening. And if you have any questions, I'll be welcome to answer them. But yeah, so you can see that he's moving around a lot. This is this should be technically based off of the health and battery because currently there aren't many environments that Jeffrey has created instincts for. Just possibly an instinct for each individual health battery combination. which would mean that there are six, which would make sense if there's 16 instincts. This would go straight on with that. Um, Actually, let me check that right now. If there's any specific instincts that have been added. Okay, so we still have 16 instincts, but yeah, okay. So this is something that could be a problem. I'm not sure yet. Um, because of this reaction time, whenever the environment changes, the reaction time resets. So then Jeffrey doesn't necessarily change what he's seeing in the environment. He would have to stop in that new environment and and take in that environment for when the boss program comes by and grabs the sample. So this could just be something that takes time, but if Jeffrey is stuck with zero this 0000 environment, then this could be something that I have to fix on a coding level. But I will keep you updated on that. But I'm getting close to when I want to stop, so I am going to sign off here. But I will talk to you on either Saturday or Sunday. I haven't decided. I did want to talk to the people I was talking to last week about possibly a musical performance, but I will update you about that on Twitter. And until then, I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you on the weekend.